The 5 stars for Genshin 4.7 have been announced, with Clorinde and Alhaitham running in the first half, and Sigewinne with the long-awaited Archon Furina in the second, and Sethos on the first. So, how valuable are each of these banners going to be for your account? How good will the weapon banners be? And who should you pull for? Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. So 3 new characters this patch. That's pretty crazy. It's the first time in a long time we've had, since the beginning of Fontaine, where we've actually had 3 brand new characters in a patch. And none of them are standard banner characters. They're all full on limited 5 stars. I'm going to break them down a tiny bit in this video to give you an idea, but we're going to have dedicated pre-release videos for Clorinde, for Sethos, and for Sigewinne, so make sure you're subscribed for that. And of course, I'll be building them on day 1. My Clorinde guide will be out the minute this banner is live, with Sethos guide coming later that day, and we'll be giving a Clorinde live on stream as well, so make sure you're ready for that. But basically, Clorinde is a 5-star Electro on-field DPS who uses her gun and her sword, similar to Electro Iado. If I were to describe a playstyle in terms of damage, we just don't know exactly how good she's going to be yet. People who've done some pre-release guides on her already seem to feel like she's going to be solid but not insane. Her animations are some of the best in game. I am so hyped for that character, and I don't want to let my expectations get too high because we've had so many OP characters over and over and over, but I highly doubt that they'll let her be bad. But I doubt she'll be a must pull of any stretch either. If I had to guess, maybe her best teams will probably outperform Raiden, but Raiden will still win in overall flexibility and probably have higher account value overall. She is an Electro on-field DPS who doesn't do much other than damage and looking really, really cool. So if you want a new damage dealer and she looks cool, I highly recommend picking her up. That's just the reality. If you think she looks awesome and she's one of the coolest characters you've ever seen, like me, you should get her. If you're looking for a straight value pull, there's definitely more valuable characters in this patch. Sethos also an Electro on-field DPS, so kind of weird that we're getting 2 Electro on-field DPSs this patch. I hope that Chevreuse will be on this banner because that would greatly increase the pull value for these banners. Alhaitham, we are more aware of his strength. He is a Dendro on-field DPS, and he's by far the strongest. I mean, Tighnari is very strong too in terms of damage numbers, but the single target locked nature for Tighnari makes me not like him nearly as much as someone like Alhaitham. Alhaitham has good spread teams and good hyperbloom teams. I wouldn't say he's like a super valuable character because he is a DPS, but he is definitely a strong DPS. He's easy to play, but he has things you can mix in and different rotations you can learn that make him more engaging. He has a wide variety of weapon options, free to play. I would say he's definitely a very free to play friendly character, a pretty casual friendly character. I think that he still remains one of the better DPSs. I have him as my 3rd best DPS in the game. If you want to check out that video on the top 5 DPSs, you can. As with most DPSs though, I don't recommend him for like a value pull, because even the difference between the best DPSs and the 2nd best and 3rd and 4th and 5th and 10th DPS is just not that great. You can pick your poison when it comes to DPS. If you want a DPS and you like Alhaitham, you absolutely should get him. For both these characters, just play them in your trial a lot. Take a look at, my guides and other people's guides to see what teams they're running, see if those teams look good to you, if they look fun to you, and use this character Sethos. It's very much not advised to wish on this banner for Sethos because it's very impossible to target 4 stars. You almost never get the 4 stars you want. And probably being a 4-star DPS, he's probably going to need high constellations to really shine and pop off. So if you really want him, get a copy, enjoy him in the overworld, but don't try and go too ham for constellations. It's very, very dangerous to do that. So yeah, I think both of these 5 stars are great pulls if you want a DPS and they look cool. There's not really any caveats that it looks like to me, like it doesn't look like Clorinde has any like really big red flags or issues. She looks fun. It's just a question of how does she compare to the other DPSs, which is not the biggest deal as long as she's good enough, which it's looking like she definitely will be. And it's looking like she'll be fun and flexible and have a variety of different teams. It's just a matter of, is Chevreuse on this banner? Because that would make it so much of an easier recommendation. Now, the second half is a little bit different. We've got Sigewinne and Furina. Obviously, Furina is a must pull in my opinion. You can check out my video if you have these 5 stars, you beat the game. Never wish again, or whatever that is. Furina is a staple character. You can also check out my other recent video, the new best team core in Genshin Impact, which features Furina. I think Furina is the best character in the game. So if there was any value pull to be had, Furina is that pull. There are a lot of great characters and great cores in Genshin Impact though. So you don't have to feel like you have to get her. If you don't like her, if you don't like her playstyle, if you don't like her teams that she's part of, if she doesn't work with your favorite characters, that is totally fine. She's not a must pull in that sense. She's a must pull in the sense that if you want to have the strongest characters in Genshin, that she's a character that you want to pick up, but she's not a must pull in the sense that you need her to clear the hardest content in the game, because that's not how Genshin works. But if you have any interest in this character at all, I highly recommend picking her up. Sigewinne, on the other hand, I really don't know what to say. She heals. She's like an on-fielder. She has a bubble that traps little enemies. I honestly don't really understand what this character is exactly supposed to do. She seems like she's a bit like Kokomi, where she's a healer who wants to be on field. She's got some Bond of Life mechanics that don't really seem to matter. She creates source water droplets that Novelette interacts with, but that doesn't really seem to matter because Novelette really doesn't want a hydro healer. If he wants a hydro character, it's going to be Furina, and then the other characters need to be different elements. So truly, I don't know what Sigewinne is meant to do. I think this is a character that you just pull if you like her, and she probably has, like, you're probably meant to play her on field and Furina off field. Seems like she buffs elemental skills, so maybe you're playing Sigewinne, Furina, Fischl, Kazuha. That seems like what you're supposed to do with Sigewinne. She looks super cute. Her animations are adorable, but I can't in good faith recommend that character. Now, what about constellations for these characters? Obviously, we don't really know Clorinde's and Sigewinne's constellations, but based on some of the predictions and future sites that people have had, it seems like Clorinde's C1 and C2 are going to be insanely good. And I think Sigewinne's supposed to have really good constellations as well. This is not surprising. All of Fontaine characters have had excellent constellations, the early constellations especially. So I personally don't ever pull for constellations. I have all my 5 stars locked at C0, except for like exploration ones that don't matter for the Abyss and that I don't utilize properly so that I can test everyone at an even playing field. But Clorinde really does look like she has a good C1. Alhaitham actually does not have good constellations. His best constellations are Nahida C2, Furina C1, Furina C2, maybe his 5-star weapon. Those are Alhaitham's vertical investment options. You don't really want to go in on Alhaitham's constellations himself. His C1 can be a nice quality of life, make it easier to do some stuff, but it's really not required to hit his damage. It's just like kind of comfy for some people, but it's definitely not like a meta constellation. And then Furina's constellations are definitely the highest value constellations in the game. If you are going to go for vertical investment, Furina C1 and Furina C2 are absolutely bonkers value, especially since they both give great value. Even her C3 gives good value. Once again, these are the type of constellations that make content trivially easy. So depending on what kind of player you are, these may be constellations to go for or to stay away from. On one hand, it can maybe make the game too easy. On the other hand, playing Furina with C1 or C2 with some of your underperforming characters can really make them shine, because the buffing and personal damage respectively from C1 and C2 on Furina are really, really insane. So that's something you can consider. But once again, the only reason I even go for 5-star weapons is for drip. I don't even do it for the power. It's just for the drip. I like my characters to look their best. That's literally why I even go for 5-star weapons. So I'm not a big recommender in that. I'm recommending horizontal investment. And now with the new endgame mode that Genshin just announced, horizontal investment, having lots of different characters, is more valuable than it used to be. You can still use trial characters, you can still use your friends' characters in that mode. Check out my video on that mode, I'll link it at the end. I'm really, really excited for the new endgame mode. So, but that incentivizes a little bit more horizontal investment rather than vertical investment. So investing in more characters horizontally rather than vertically getting constellations and weapons for your characters. It also increases the value of getting another DPS, of getting, Clorinde as another electro DPS, as opposed to, just having Raiden as your only electro DPS, or now you have maybe Sino and Clorinde, now you have a few electro DPSs. There's more value in that. I still don't recommend doing that. I don't recommend pulling Clorinde because you want to have multiple electro DPSs. She's going to be a trial character in the mode anyways, so it's not like you need her, but it does give you some use for having more horizontally invested account, which I personally really, really like. in a way that doesn't actually pressure you to get the character. So to me, that's a win-win. Let's talk about weapon banner. So we don't know exactly officially what the new sword and the bow do, but based on these characters' kits, I think we can guess. And based on what other people have predicted and made guides on, we can make an educated guess. Clorinde's is definitely gonna be, I would guess, crit damage. She has a crit rate ascension passive, so crit damage makes the most sense, and probably has a bond of life that gives, I don't know, elemental damage bonus or something like that, like similar to Arlecchino. That makes this weapon banner pretty good. 2 crit damage swords is a pretty high value weapon banner. Now, Alhaitham's is restricted to like EM based teams. So aggravate teams for the most part, or quick bloom or aggravate teams. But this is a pretty good banner to get a stat stick on. Probably not as good as like Mistsplit or Homa or something like that. It's not like that, but it's pretty good. It's one of those pretty solid weapon banners. If it has like Fav Sword, Fav Lance, this, or Xiphos or something like that, this might actually be a good weapon banner. Again, I only pull in weapon banners for drip, but it can also be nice if you want more stress-free clears. It definitely, having a bunch of 5-star weapons definitely makes it more comfy to clear the Spiral Abyss with room to spare. The Furina Sigewinne banner probably isn't going to be as high a value. Furina wants her Constellations much more than her signature weapon, and the pipe is quite good for her, but if you're trying to get drip, it's tough, because Sigewinne's weapon is almost definitely not going to be like a generalist bow. It's going to be restricted to her. So I think this is a pretty good banner if you're a Sigewinne wanter, and a pretty bad banner if you're a Furina weapon wanter. So that's, I think, where we land. Clorinde and Alhaitham, great choices if you want a DPS. Most likely. Sigewinne, great choice if you want Sigewinne, otherwise a skip. And Furina, get her if you have any interest. Let me know your thoughts, let me know who you're going for, and make sure to check out the Imaginarium Theater video right there. It's going to be awesome. Take care. Bye for now.